She was 17. She had a boyfriend in the front seat and his best friend in the back. And in the last 30 seconds of their lives, she pressed the gas pedal all the way down and never touched the brake. Not once. The car hit a brick wall at almost 100 miles an hour. 2 young men died instantly. She survived. For 4 years, people called it a tragic accident. Then a documentary came out on Netflix. And suddenly, millions of strangers on TikTok started calling her something else. A killer who got caught on camera smiling in her hospital bed. But here's the thing almost nobody is talking about. This case was never really about the crash itself. It was about everything that happened before it and everything that's happening online right now. Stay with me because by the end of this video, you'll understand why the internet can't stop talking about Mackenzie Shirilla. It was July 31st, 2022, around 5:30 in the morning, in the quiet town of Strongsville, Ohio. Mackenzie Shirilla, just 17 years old, was driving home from a graduation party. In the passenger seat was her boyfriend, Dominic Russo, 20 years old. In the back seat sat their friend, Davion Flanagan, 19. They had just left a house party. It should have been a normal, sleepy drive home. Instead, Mackenzie turned onto a long straight road called Progress Drive and accelerated fast. The car hit 100 miles per hour. Then, without slowing down, without swerving, without braking, the Toyota Camry slammed head-on into a brick commercial building. Dominic and Davion died at the scene. Mackenzie survived with severe injuries, a broken femur, broken ribs, a lacerated liver, damage to both carotid arteries in her neck. For 45 minutes, nobody knew. The 3 of them lay in the wreckage until a stranger driving by finally spotted the crushed car and called for help. That's the crash. But the real story is what investigators found when they started digging into the seconds and days before it. At first, this looked like a horrible accident. A teenager, maybe distracted, maybe tired, loses control of the car. Then the car's black box, its event data recorder, told a different story. It showed the accelerator pressed at 100% for an extended period. The steering wheel moved slightly left then right, then straightened out completely in the final stretch before impact. And the brakes? Never applied. Not for a second. Investigators also found something chilling from 2 weeks before the crash. A witness claimed Mackenzie had driven erratically on the freeway with Dominic in the car, and prosecutors said this showed a pattern, what they later called in court, prior calculation. Then there was the relationship itself. Friends told police that Mackenzie and Dominic's relationship had been falling apart for months. There were breakups, arguments, accusations of cheating. One witness said Mackenzie had once been heard saying, "I'm going to wreck this car right now," while Dominic sat beside her. Prosecutors also pointed to what they called a dry run, evidence suggesting Mackenzie had driven that exact route just days before the crash. Put all of that together, and you can see why prosecutors stopped calling this an accident. They called it murder. Mackenzie never spoke to police. She never testified at her own trial. Her lawyers chose a bench trial, meaning a judge alone would decide her fate, not a jury. Her defense rested on one central claim. Mackenzie had a real medical condition called POTS, a disorder that affects heart rate and blood pressure and can cause sudden blackouts. Her mother testified that Mackenzie had been diagnosed with it years earlier. The theory was simple: she didn't choose to crash the car. Her body simply shut down at the wheel. But the prosecution pushed back hard. The auto examiner testified the brake and gas pedals worked perfectly. Toxicology showed no alcohol or drugs in her system at the time, aside from marijuana. And the way the car moved in its final seconds, left, right, then dead straight, didn't look like a blackout. It looked, prosecutors argued, like control. On August 14, 2023, the judge delivered her verdict, and the words she used became infamous. This was not reckless driving. This was murder. She described Mackenzie as morphing from a responsible driver to literal hell on wheels. Mackenzie was convicted on 12 felony counts, including murder. She was sentenced to 2 concurrent terms of 15 years to life. Her earliest possible parole date is in 2037. Every appeal since then has failed. So why is a case from 2022 exploding online in 2026? The answer is a Netflix documentary called The Crash. For the first time ever, Mackenzie agreed to sit down on camera and speak, something she never did for police, and never did in court. In the documentary, she looks into the lens and says, "I was a driver of a tragedy, but I'm not a murderer." That single interview lit a fuse. Within weeks, TikTok was flooded with reaction videos, clip breakdowns, and body language analysis, picking apart every blink and pause in her interview. Old photos resurfaced, including selfies she posted from her hospital bed just days after the crash, which many viewers found deeply disturbing. Body cam footage went viral showing Mackenzie and her mother speaking in a private code language during a police interview, which only fueled more suspicion online. And then something stranger happened. Alongside the outrage, an actual fanbase formed. Accounts dedicated entirely to reposting her old videos. People calling themselves supporters, defending her, even romanticizing her. It's a pattern true crime has seen before. A case becomes so viral that the real victims start to disappear behind the spectacle of the accused.